We start with heartbreaking news, and I'm sorry to do this, but Gotham FC and U.S. Women's National Team Midge Purce announced that she tore her ACL. We commented on it after the match about kind of what happened in that whole scenario, and I am wrong. I'm sorry. I should have thrown to a break, and then we'll go into the news first. No. All right. We're just going to keep going. I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit of what Midge Purce said there. I'm heartbroken to no longer be available for my season with Gotham FC or for Olympic selection with the U.S. Women's National Team. No, I'm rooting for you both all year long. Purce said, though you may not see it, I'll be doing everything I can to get back on the field. Just initial reactions to Midge and how hard she had been working and kind of her resurrection on the national team, and then to be hit with this devastating news, Darian.
Yeah, I mean, my heart breaks for Midge. I was texting her earlier and just sending her lots of love and healing energy. It's a tough thing. The timing is devastating. That injury is devastating, as it could happen anytime, but especially this year, because I think we saw her really grow in a way that was so influential on and off the pitch. I don't think she's not going to be quiet. We're going to see her everywhere. She's going to be heavily involved in the game. That girl does not stop working. She does not stop promoting women's soccer. So I think she's going to be heavily involved, but she's got so much good energy going towards her and she's such an athlete and good person that it's going to be okay. She's going to come back from this better than she even was before, because I've had a terrible injury as well. And if that taught me anything, it made me appreciate the games in different ways that I hadn't have thought of before. Mm-hmm. Totally elevated my game to slow down a little bit. And I think that she's probably going to come back with that same sort of hunger and bite that we were just seeing her have times 10. So Midge, if you see this, we love you, sending you all the healing energy possible. You're going to be okay.
It's a heartbreaker, hands down, heartbreaking, especially at the kind of the point in her career where she is right now, coming off of a huge championship performance in the NWSL, winning the championship, her performance at the national team in the W Gold Cup, and really on the rise. It is terrible. It's humbling to some extent, right? To kind of never take for granted every day that you have and every time you step on the pitch. And injuries are terrible. But I think that with Midge, you could tell even in the match for Gotham against Portland, when she got injured, the first initial injury happened and she was back out on the field. She wanted to keep playing, like how much she wants to do this and how much she cares about the game, that when she went down the second time just before halftime, it was like she knew, like, I'm out. Like, I need to get out. Yeah. I'm out. It's terrible. Yeah. Like it truly gave me chills watching it and broke my heart.
Yeah, I think that we're all so heartbroken for Midge, and knowing her personally, and like Darian said, it's so hard because you've seen like her comeback, right? Like not making the World Cup team, and then how amazing of a year she had within, we mentioned there the MVP performance, the wins, the W Gold Cup performance that we saw from her as well. Like just everything for it to be now, right before the Olympic roster that she was fighting to be back on and kind of like on the edge of, is devastating. But, I think we've all sent our energy towards her, and she's surrounded by good people. And I think that that's really important during a time like this. And there's nothing that you can say to her or to a player that is facing something like this right now. But I think, Juan Carlos Amorós spoke out about this, and he talked about protecting the players. And then that becomes a talking point within the international competition, starting with 1 week after preseason began for NWSL. And he said, we're seeing the consequences now. We got Rose Lynn injured last week. I think it was Dabinia in Kansas City. Now we have Midge. And these players, unfortunately, from my experience, the clubs are going to keep paying the cost for that competition. Unfortunately, in this case, it was Midge. Is that something that we can kind of point to and say, maybe that wasn't the best way to integrate, because we're now seeing these muscle injuries and now an ACL. An ACL is unspeakable, and we don't really know the research behind how it happens, but obviously those muscle injuries that Juan Carlos Amorós is referencing and has talked about in multiple press conferences about the W Gold Cup being at a time when these players' bodies weren't ready, and now we're seeing the effects of that. Do you think that that's something worthy of talking about when it comes to Midge's injury?
I mean, I think it's of note because he's been pretty vocal about it for a while now. And I think the subject point of a heavy match load for a player is always going to be an important topic and should be discussed about until it is solved. But in the meantime, as these things continue to roll out, whether they are lengthy regular seasons or cup games that run concurrent or before or during or after a season, or national team responsibilities. In the meantime, it also falls on team staffs, team coaches to try to communicate things effectively with players, understanding their roles and trying to manage those minutes. So I don't think there's, unfortunately, one solution, for this. But while I appreciate Juan Carlos Someros kind of being vocal and like speaking up for his players, this is also a tournament that featured many, many, many players and not just Gotham FC players. And it is a terrible thing that we find ourselves once again on an episode of Attacking Third talking about an ACL injury to a player that was just like in rising form. I forget which episode it was, if it was the Gold Cup roster reaction or wish list or prediction or what, but I was like, Midge Purce is the most informed forward on the team right now. Like, of course, this player is going to be part of this forward core right now. It's absolutely devastating that this injury comes at this time. It's giving, like, it's triggering almost. Like, it's giving like Mal Swanson going down before the World Cup, like Midge Purce going down before the Olympics. Like, that is not a scenario that you find yourself wanting to talk about, whether if it's in Gotham's case, losing one of their best attackers, or for the national team case when they are trying to prepare for an Olympics. Also, just, the vulnerability that players share and give to the public when they literally owe us nothing at all. Like, their job is to be a pro athlete and a player and show up, and they do that. So the fact that she even wants to share a bit of her own update, with the public, I think is very kind. And, just, I hope, her recovery is not just swift, but like it is the recovery that, it's the recovery that she deserves, essentially. Like, because these types of injuries are always so tricky and everybody's body is different. So hopefully this path that she is going to be on right now, yeah, of course you want it to be swift, but you want it to be correct as well. And only her team, her medical team, are going to know, ultimately what's best for her. So absolutely devastating that this happens. I think it's easy to take a look at, match load and say the Gold Cup is why, Midge tore ACL. There's people who are going to say she played on turf in Portland. That's why she tore ACL. There's going to be a bunch of things that people want to be reactive to and say, this is why this happened. But the thing is, it's like, I don't know if there's actually one thing that actually occurred. There's going to be folks who are even like, why did she go out there a second time? And, et cetera. And there's going to be this period of anger and like wanting to point fingers and things like that. And I don't know if that's necessarily going to be helpful at this moment to the players specifically. But, we often say a lot, or at least me, I say a lot, when it comes to talking about women's soccer or NWSL, I'm always like, I love it here. But whenever we get to these moments where we're talking about ACL, I'm like, I hate it here. Like, get me out. It's tough whenever we have to come out here and do this.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will send our best wishes to Midge, and we'll continue to follow her recovery as well, because I would love to stay updated. I know she doesn't owe us anything, but just the personality that she is, I love following everything that she does. So hopefully we'll get an eye on her recovery and see how she's doing.